Hey everyone, welcome again to the latest installment of The Way It Is, and I'm your host, as always, Luca and with Remax Service First Realty Inc. With me again is Sam, my team member, and we're first. I know on social media posts people say thumbs up or thumbs down if you like certain things. So this is my men's night started tonight at the golf course I play at, and I was given this lovely purple golf shirt with my detailed lacing stripes. So certainly you can thumb up or thumb down it, and then that way I can give feedback to the...
See if it improves your game first.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so thanks for listening in. So today we're talking about, because there's, again, a lot of sound bites, a lot of headlines coming on in the media. And in the wake of this Manulife report about 1 in 4 Canadians saying that if interest rates continue to rise, they won't be able to afford their homes. So I guess we'll start with where we're at based on the podcast that we did a couple of weeks ago. Where's the market at? I don't think a whole lot has changed, to be candid, from what that podcast revealed, which is we are in the same market, or very close to the same market we were in pre-COVID. Meaning it was a busy market. It was robust. There was activity happening. There were buyers in the marketplace, and homes. They're, again, price dependent, location dependent, and property dependent. Some properties are still getting multiple offers, selling for over the asking price. Others aren't. Others are selling within sometimes a week, 2 weeks, 30 days, sometimes, but definitely well under 60 days, and sometimes for asking price, sometimes under the asking price. Buyers are getting the opportunity now to insert conditions in their offers. Home inspections are becoming a thing again. And I'm sure most of the home inspectors were probably caught unaware because they probably put all their stuff away for whenever, they're thinking they would never happen again. But financing conditions. So we're getting back to a normal sort of pre-COVID market, the way it was happening before, which was, again, still active, still activity happening. But again, to preface it all by, this isn't January and February, ladies and gentlemen. It's now June 15th. And January, February are gone, perhaps never to be seen again, perhaps, because that was, again, the perfect window and the perfect conspiracy of so many variables to create that market that happened, that has now sadly created the fallout that we're dealing with. Vis-a-vis, we're hearing stories coming out from different lawyers, and we actually had a lawyer at our board meeting yesterday to talk about how more and more buyers that have bought, not closed on their properties, or closed on their properties, either want out of their deals because they feel they've overpaid for their properties, or are starting to try to find things that they can sue somebody for.
Mm-hmm. Buyer's remorse at its
Buyer's
finest,
remorse,
yeah.
Right. And so I guess my point, and because this has been bugging me a lot, and so the thing my saying is, first everybody was bitching that they couldn't get into the market. Now they're whining because they got into the market and they don't want to be in the market. So I don't, and I guess let's put it into perspective again. Let's ask all the Bitcoin people if they can get a redo, because I'm pretty sure they would like to have one if they could, but they can't. No one in the stock market gets a redo. No one in anything gets a redo. So, and when you say I overpaid for it, in what context?
Exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, if you had to sell that asset today, okay, maybe you wouldn't realize the same price you paid for it in January, February. That's the same as the stock market. Understood. But that's if you had to sell it. In 5 years from now or 10 years from now, I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think values are still the highest they've ever been.
Yep.
And yeah, did you pay a premium? For sure. I say premium, you say overpay. Again, it's pick your poison, right? You got into the market, you own a home. Mm-hmm. But Sam, let's talk about the affordability thing in this. Maybe you can break out a bit of the Manulife report there and what they said, or how they broke it out.
I mean, it's a good thing that Manulife does this kind of thing. However, the way that everyone conveys it is kind of just fear mongering and not to the best point of view, if you will. But basically, the main article that everyone's seen, it goes on to talk about some other things, but is that a survey reveals close to 1 in 4 homeowners say if interest rates were to increase further, they would be forced to sell their home. So I guess for context, this was taken of a sample size of 2,001 people. So but in a statistics point of view, that's actually a fair sample size. But I mean, 2001 people doesn't fairly represent all of Canada.
No, didn't they say that starting at an average income of $40,000 or something like that?
Exactly, yeah. So they give this number that's kind of confusing to interpret, but it basically, they say the survey has a credibility interval of 2.5%, 19 times out of 20. Which is just a really complicated way of saying that they believe that the population sample is accurate to the total sample between 92.5% and 97.5%. So they are saying that it is relatively accurate and stuff like that. But the error comes from the fact that it's an opt-in survey. That means people with easy access to internet, that kind of thing, are the only ones that are going to be taking from it. And then the other point that is pretty significant is that I know if a financial company approached me and said, if your interest rate increases, is that going to be okay with you? Even if it was, I'd be saying no. I'd be saying, I'm going to sell my house. Make sure you keep it down, keep it low, or you're losing my mortgage. Right. So it'd be interesting what this survey would have come to if these questions were asked back in 2021 when everyone was sitting at that 2% and nobody was concerned. They might say, yeah, I can afford a double, I can afford triple. But now when the double has already happened and the triple is on the rise, well, yeah, people are going to be like, oh, I don't want to get any closer. But then Luke and I were just talking about it. Did no one have a financial plan?
Well, and exactly. And so today's rates, okay, we just literally hot off the presses. The posted 5-year rate, if you went into a lending institution, so if you went into RBC, CIBC, TD, Scotiabank, pick one, their posted rate for 5-year money fixed is 5.64. No one should ever go into a bank and not ask for the discount that they offer, because everybody, they have the ability to discount that rate minimum 0.5 point, potentially even 0.75 point, again, depending on your qualification. So the real money out there, though, for a 5-year fixed, if you deal with a mortgage broker or if you ask your lender, is 4.59%. I'd have to check historically. I didn't before we got on air. But I don't think this is higher than where we were pre-COVID for 5-year money. In fact, I think there was 5% hovering around there for 5-year money. Same with the variable rate, 3.29, but you can get it down to 2.8. Now, listen, personally, my mortgage has gone up. I had a 1-year fixed variable rate mortgage, and now with the 2 increases, my mortgage went from, well, it's gone up. I probably shouldn't say the amounts, but it went up by, I'd have to do the math, probably about $50, maybe even a little bit more over the last 2 increases. But I guess, like, to Sam's point is, when these people were getting qualified, because you had the stress test that you had to qualify for and stay under, and given what you told the banks that you owed or whatever, or your ability to pay, so either, if you didn't have those abilities, then who vetted you and who didn't portray the story the way it should have been, that you can't afford this bump in the road, because it is a bump in the road. And not to diminish people's concerns. I'm not trying to be that callous, but please understand that. Because obviously these are concerns. They're real concerns. If rates keep going up, the price of gas, the price of food, what's going on in the world, I get it. It's anxious times. However, you still got your job. Presumably, you're still working. And so now it's about, like Sam said, it's about planning. Now, there are steps you can take. If you have concerns, you can immediately go to your lender, and they do have options in terms of payment relief, like they'd had during COVID, which we don't really recommend. Depending on the variable rate that you took, I mean, there's some static variable rates out there, which means that the rate doesn't change.
Just the amortization
change. So what that means then is that if your mortgage payment is $2,000, let's, for simple math, 500 of it would go towards your interest. 1,500 would go to your principal. Now, probably what's going to happen is 250 goes towards your interest, or sorry, 750 goes towards your interest, and only $1,250 goes towards your principal. So yes, it's going to increase the amortization of your mortgage in terms of your ability to pay it off in the time frame that was agreed to. There's also ARM mortgages, which is oh my God. Shoot, sorry guys. Anyway, it's the ability to play with the amortization in your mortgage. I'll think of the acronym probably once we finish here, but anyways.
The amortization rate mortgage.
Well, it allows you to extend the amortization, and then again, it's also about if maybe you're paying biweekly, maybe now you should switch it out to monthly.
Yep.
So there's options out there. So people shouldn't be pushing panic buttons. They should be having, however, serious conversations with their mortgage reps or their lender reps, and or financial planning people, and putting pen to paper and drawing a line on a piece of paper and figuring out where the money's coming from and where it's got to go, and prioritize your household expenses. But because I don't think the government, I don't think the Bank of Canada, I don't think Tiff Macklin wants to see everybody throwing the keys in. And this isn't when I started in this business, the late 80s, when the rates went up to 18, 19, 20%, because that's the specter on the horizon, sadly, depending what the Bank of Canada does with interest rates to combat inflation. Then we're all in trouble for sure. And then people are handing in their keys for sure. And because that's the recession specter recession and stagflation specter that's on the horizon. But I know for a fact, and Sam, you and I have talked about this, that there's no way the Bank of Canada is going to get inflation down to between 2 and 3%.
They've claimed it
in the immediate future. There's just no way. They cannot increase rates to the extent that the world would allow, the economy will allow them to do, what's happening in the world would allow them to do in order to do that. Can they do it over the next 5 years? Potentially. But potentially over the next 5 years, there's going to be a lot of things play out in the world that will maybe solve a lot of the problems on their own. Supply chain issues, the war in Ukraine, all those other things. What else were we going to talk about?
I think that covers most of it. I think just like the kind of key takeaways is just to everyone should have that financial plan in place to deal with the circumstances that are happening, and kind of stop complaining about getting into the market and having a house, because depending on the reason you purchased, 9 times out of 10, you're going to come out on top as long as you kind of deal with the problems at hand. I mean, the only maybe thing that we would say is anyone who's looking for a 3-month flip, be very careful with what you buy. But the models are still there for flipping and holding the property, renting the property, making it your home, because things are going to go up. It's the same thing that happened in 2008. And then things went up. 2016, everything went up. Like it's always going to happen that way.
And this will flow through like it always does. And like I said, I mean, we have to hope and we have to be optimistic that the Bank of Canada will, they don't operate in a bubble. They understand the politics of rate increases. They understand the ramifications and the flow through of rate increases. And so, the good and the bad, and as we started it, is if you're a buyer now, prices. I'm not going to say they've come down, but they've returned to a more stable, level. And so, it's not as frenzied. But prices, again, I sell this to people all the time. They're the highest they've ever been in the 40 years of real estate, in Canadian Real Estate Association. The highest they've ever been, period. End of story. So those that want to still try to capture January, February money because they know somebody that did it or whatever, then that's just timing. That's just timing, and you got to wait for the next cycle to catch it. And if you don't have to sell, and because you want to hit a home run, then don't sell now. But if you have to sell, you're still making off very well. Prices are great.
We've still today have, with February and stuff to consider, we've still increased 16% since 2021.
Right. And what did I say way back in a podcast where if if you took the 40% appreciation levels or 35 or whatever it was, and you cut them in half, you're still double digit appreciation, which is way triple what it was 5 years ago or whatever.
Exactly.
So house values are still good. The good thing for buyers, you're able to go see a house. You're actually able to go see it twice maybe before you have to worry about think about it and make an offer. You can put conditions in your offer. So those are all good things. And yet there are, and that's price point dependent as well. That sweet spot of, well, we'll say 350, but I mean, that doesn't even exist anymore, but let's call it 400 to 600, I guess. I mean, again, you have to understand that's the sweet spot of the market. That's where the majority of the buyers are buying in the market. So that means there's always the most competition in that market. And there are going to be still situations, depending on the house, that you're going to be having to be in a situation where you either got to commit to making, a competitive offer in a multiple offer situation, or wait it out and step aside and wait for something else to come on. And that's choice, but that's where you need to be guided by your realtor. And you need to be, given all this information so that you can make the most informed decision possible. It's certainly not time to push a panic button though, people. I don't want, and again, I don't want to diminish the concern. I don't want to diminish the anxiety because we all feel it every day. But certainly, just, I'm tired of the sound bites. I'm tired of the politicization of all this stuff. And I'm tired of, a lot of people that don't know what they're talking about this stuff. So, I'm sure people could point at me and say I'm one of those, but I'd like to think I know more than the average bear. So, there you go, folks. The state of the market is decent. It's still robust. It's still, are we going to get another rate hike in July? I think so. Likely. But again, I've sold houses for 35 years now. When I started, the average 5-year money was 12% in Kingston. So people still bought houses. And if you're concerned right now, again, about if you got a variable rate, maybe now's the time to talk to your lender about breaking that mortgage, trying to negotiate the penalty and flipping it into a fixed 5-year money now. And then you can budget for it, right? Because everybody got in, and you see, because you can't suck and blow, right? People, you can't say, I want the 1.35 variable rate, and now it's gone up to 2.8 a year later. And you got to take the good with the bad with the good, right? So you can't, no, 1.35 wasn't here forever. And shame on you if you thought it was. I think we're just talking in circles now, but
everyone make a financial plan. There's no point in being scared of anything because these fear mongering articles are not necessarily a accurate depiction of what's kind of going on, but, basically dot your I's and cross your T's, put on paper a financial plan and see where it takes you.
And get good help. That's why we're here. Yeah. That's why we have the team that we have here to answer those questions. We have expertise in the legal field. We have expertise in the mortgage field. We have expertise in the home inspection field. We have expertise in the all aspects of the transaction process. Absolutely. So and we're here to help. So if you want to have a conversation, we welcome it. If you want to tune us out, that's your prerogative. But I think everyone just needs to take a deep breath. Like Sam said, it's time to start budgeting. It's time to start putting the big boy pants on now and dealing with your realities, right? Yep. And if you don't have to sell your home, then don't sell your home, and you won't realize a loss. And the price will invariably, the values will get to what you paid for it in January, February of 2022. Yeah, because that will be a blip on a graph somewhere in the next year or something. So
absolutely.
All right. Okay. Well, we won't bore you anymore. Thanks for tuning in. Next week we're going to have a pretty cool guest. I'm pretty sure he's confirmed. So we hope you tune in. And again, thanks for your time.